Welcome to the Forum, your way to keep up with state and community leaders, experts, and local business leaders. This is your chance to hear from and talk to people that affect your life right here in Rim Country. You can express your opinions by calling 474-2427. And remember, the comments and opinions of guests and callers are not necessarily the opinions of KMOG. Welcome to Rim Country Forum.
Good morning. It's 7 minutes after 9 o'clock. Charlie Seraphin with you on the Forum this morning. Thanks for listening, especially those of you listening in La Crosse or Waukesha, Wisconsin, those of you in Brooklyn, New York. We always enjoy hearing from you, so feel free to, when we open the lines a little bit later in the program, you can join in the conversation. Have two wonderful guests, a couple of my favorite people in town on the program today. We start out by thanking our sponsors, the Power of Fives, the Dana Law Group, Banner Health, Payson Medical Center, Pinnacle Propane, Realty Executives Arizona Territory, the Owens Law Firm, and Sunshine Cleaning and Restoration. Great local sponsors. Please patronize those businesses and tell them Charlie sent you. That's what I would like to say anyway. So we have Mr. Mayor Tom Morrissey is with us from the town of Payson, and Police Chief Ron Tischer. Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Morning. Hey, what's this Brooklyn stuff? I got two friends named Carmine and Vito that listen to the program. I didn't know you did. And their comments say, hey, what are you doing? You know, get on the radio. So I'm really happy you're mentioning them. So
yeah, they called last week, as a matter of fact. One of them did. I can't tell the two apart.
Yeah.
Carmen and Vito. Yeah, because they both kind of sound the same.
They told me they were going to call you. They want to know who you used to be. How you doing, Charlie?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a Monday, and we got some clouds in the sky, and we have the possibility of some showers over the next couple of days, tonight, and then again tomorrow. And we're really excited about that, and that's why you gentlemen are here today, whether you knew that or not. But we're going to talk about the fire danger to our community, and specifically in the event of that catastrophic thing that we just don't even like to think about, but we have to think about it in order to plan. What are we going to do? Mm-hmm. And I know, Chief, you guys, your department had a drill, I guess week before last, yep. Right? Where unannounced, you didn't tell anybody what was going on, and you sent them into a neighborhood, and how did that work?
It actually worked out really well for us. You know, it's one of those things that we plan for, and we do a lot of planning. Hope we never have to use it, but we need to put our processes through the test every once in a while. So it's something we're going to plan on doing every year from here on out. And there's a few things we wanted to test: our callback procedure, the county's Everbridge procedures, you know, for notifying residents, and how long it would actually take to go around door to door to everyone in the neighborhood and notify them that we're evacuating. So it worked out well. It was a few challenges, you know, along the ways, but I think we worked through those, and I think we're better prepared in case if and when we have to really evacuate the
What are some of those things that you learned? Your guys came back and said, you know, next time we got to do this a little different.
Yeah, some of the things that were concerning to me, and I understand it. I mean, this is why we live in Payson and Arizona. Some people just didn't want to give up their information and be a part of the county's Everbridge system. They're like, no, we'll do it on our own, and we don't need to be notified by the county or anyone else that, you know, an evacuation is impending. So, you know, that was a little concerning because that is our notification system, and it's there to help people. You know, they don't use it for anything other than notifying someone in case of an emergency. So, you know, nowadays everybody has a cell phone on them, a smartphone on them, so that's one of the priorities, at least for us in Payson, to get the word out, is to use that countywide system. And, you know, we can specifically send the message out to a neighborhood, a single house, a neighborhood, or the whole town, or any areas of the town that we need to. So it's a very robust, good system, and, you know, I encourage people to use it.
Now, having said that, we get calls from people on a fairly regular basis that are older folks that have retired here that don't want a smartphone,
Sure.
that are not online, they don't use the internet.
Yep.
They've got a landline probably in their house, a house phone, and they kind of rely on their neighbors. So that complicates things a little bit, because those are the people, the elderly people that are most significant in an evacuation situation to make sure that they get out and get safe.
Yeah, so with this Everbridge system, it will call landlines as well. So that's an option for them, but that's why we go door to door, to make sure. And it always helps us when neighbors know their neighbors and their neighbors' issues. If somebody is immobile or whatnot, when we go to your house, we'd like to know, hey, my neighbor 2 doors down can't get out, they're going to need help, because that's really resource intensive for us. So the more we know, the better we can help the public.
Yep. And we talk about that pretty much every day on the program, is getting to know your neighbors, helping your neighbors, being there for your neighbors, create that dialogue. Stop by and visit, check on them, make sure that everything is copacetic before you go forward. So,
yeah, it's a long, arduous process to go door to door, but it's the only way we can be 100% sure that person in that house was contacted. So
it's the only way now. Now, having come from a beach community in St. Augustine, Florida, where I lived through 2 hurricanes, evacuated. I say I lived through them. I left. They went, but they have that warning system. They have the sirens that go off, and everybody knows. And they test them at 12 noon straight up. One day of the week. I forgot which day it is. But other than that, if you hear it, you know what the message is, and Mr. Mayor, that's a pending issue in this town. Yeah,
it's on my mind every day, and I suggested that we take a look, a real serious look at having an audio, not only audio, but have a strobe system to the lighting. Because if we have a fast-moving fire coming through this town, we're all asleep, And I know the phones, the Everbridge thing. I know how effective it is. But as you said, there's look at our population, and I think what the chief brought up a really good point here about getting into the neighborhood and identifying people who would have mobility issues with getting out in a fire. And that is something I think we could do, like neighborhood by neighborhood, so that the neighbors can identify who's going to need help. But as far as alerting, I don't think we can. There is too much that we can do. There's never enough to really alert the system. But like you said with St. Augie, as my wife calls it, she loves St. Augustine, and I do too. I'm very impressed with the lifestyle there, and I've visited it once or twice. And but the main thing here, Charlie, is and to the listeners is that. You got to ask yourself a question. Okay, the sirens are very expensive. I understand they're about $85,000 each. But we have water tanks surrounding our town. If we could get a proximity where the alerts would, people would hear them. Now, some of the criticism is that you don't hear them when you're inside. I don't. I think you do, and I think with having the police vehicles go around with the sirens to alert everybody and wake, they're going to hear it. They're going to wake up, and if they can't hear it, they can see the strobes if we have the strobes properly placed. And when I hear it's $85,000 a unit, then the question I ask is, well, how much is one life worth? Really, when it comes down to it. And damn well, you can't put a price on it. So I think we need to be open-minded. We need to be visionary. And I'm going to say it again. I say it all the time. We got to stop playing checkers. We got to play chess. We got to look down the road and look at the consequences and the results that come from some of these actions. And I was telling the chief, when one of the things that really troubles me is the preparedness, fire preparedness. That virtually didn't really exist here. I mean, people really didn't get serious about this until Paradise, California, and then we started looking at that, and then reality sets in, and then we start scrambling. We got to do this, we got to do that. Well, we damn well better be, and we are. Well, I can say that there's a serious effort now.
How many of these $85,000 units do you think we would need to be able to cover the town?
I don't know, but I do know that it's worth looking at. to see exactly what we need. There's grants out there that could cover this expense. I mean, we're sitting it potentially on a powder keg here. I mean, really, the prayer that you render, that you rendered this morning, asking for rain. The thing, we're sitting in the middle of a drought. We have an example to look at what happened in California, in Paradise. I mean, do we need any more motivation? I mean, really, the reality is, if we have a fast-moving, catastrophic fire, we'd better know what we're going to do and how to do it, and we need to try to prevent it. In any way that we can. And, we get into the program. I want to talk about the stakeholders group that I've been able to put together that's only been in existence since December of 2020. And we already now have in operation, in the works, SRP is going to fund, along with 10% of our town budget, but we're committed by contract, but they are going to fund the treatment of the forest that surrounds the Blue Ridge Reservoir, which is the basis of our C.C. Craigan water system. Now, ask yourself this. Why wasn't that considered going into the project? It's like an afterthought. And if we have a catastrophic fire, that whole system goes down, and it's irretrievable. I mean, no matter what anybody tells you, I am telling you, if we have a catastrophic fire, we are done. We're toast with that. So so what's happening, you can take a deep breath, because the stakeholders group that we have in place, and I want to thank Joe Miller for this, because Joe has really been the mechanic that got this machine rolling. It involves APS, SRP, Wild Turkey Federation, National Bass Fishing Association, U.S. Forest Service, the town of Payson. I mean, all of these entities are now working in concert and addressing. The beginning of the forest treatment will be and is the Blue Ridge Reservoir, and then it'll spread. It's like dropping a stone in a pond, and it ripples. So the ripples will impact a huge part of our forest system, and so you got to start somewhere. Journey of 1,000 miles begins at one step. That's our one step. But
I have to remember that one. How about you, Ron? Yeah. It sounds good, doesn't it?
It did.
Yeah, but it works.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
It takes one action. One action to begin a change. One action. And if this is the one action that's going to bring this to us, so be it. But the thing is, we can't just blow it off and say, it's not going to happen, because it hasn't happened. There's a very real possibility. I don't want people to panic, because that's our worst enemy, and that's what we'll be talking about today. But people have to be aware of the reality of our circumstance, and it's not a very nice thing to have to think about. But we think about it, we must. So.
Now we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about evacuation routes and evacuation plans, and we're going to take your calls with your questions, because I'm sure you have some. 474-2427. More after this. Good morning. Thanks so much for joining us on the Rim Country Forum. It's a Monday. It's the start of the week, and a very important topic this morning. We have Payson Mayor Tom Morrissey and Police Chief Ron Tischer in the studio, and we are talking about the imminent fire danger in our community. Let's go to the phones and say good morning. Oh, let's not go to the phones. Someone, I think they were calling for trades and sales. I don't know. They have special on fire extinguishers. So let's go to the. I hate to do it, but let's go to the worst case scenario, and that we've got these 20 to 30 mile an hour winds that are blowing, like they're blowing right now. That's right. Somewhere, somehow, a fire gets started just outside town, and it's coming our way. Now, what do we do?
So we have in place that we put an incident management team together and start planning way before the fire hopefully gets anywhere near us, we start putting that team in place and start planning with county emergency management, the fire department, the Forest Service, all the stakeholders get involved in this planning meeting, and we utilize the ready, set, go format, and once the incident commander, whoever that is of that situation, determines that we're at ready stage, we'll notify everybody of that. And then the set stage, you better be ready to go, because go is coming up quick if you're at the ready stage. And I think what is key is everybody should already have a plan in place for themselves to get out of their home or their apartment, whatever it might be. Have a bag of all your documents that you need, your passports, your identification, cell phone chargers, medications, prescriptions, contact numbers for family members, food for your dog or cat. That's a lot of things that people forget, is like, make sure you have enough to spend a few days away from your house, and hopefully by that time, it might be 3 days, a week, you never know, but there's sites, pre-planned sites set up throughout the town and throughout the county where we're going to have people go. We don't want to really tell, everybody knows where they are, but we don't want to say, if you live at 123 Main Street, you need to go here, because we don't know where that here to get from your house to there, you might not be able to. So we have those sites pre-planned in our evacuation plan. We work with the county, and we try to get that word out as fast as possible so people can start getting their stuff together and getting out of their homes.
A couple of those sites are right in town. We
Yes.
don't have, again, you don't have to tell people, because they're going to put it down, and like
Yeah.
you say, they're going to try to get there, and that could be a fatal mistake.
Mm-hmm.
But what about for people who, if it, God forbid, but if we have to really everybody has to get out of town. How does that work?
So our concern here is there's only 3 ways in and out of town, and that will be a major concern of getting everybody out. If you think, if there's a fire approaching or anywhere near, like last year with the bushfire, was starting to creep up, north towards us. If you have somewhere to go, or family down in the valley or somewhere else, just pack up and go. Go sooner rather than later, because later it might be too late. So if people can have their own pre-plan, for an event like this, I think it helps a lot with the police department, the fire department, the Forest Service, to get people out when we need to.
The bushfire is a good example, because it came from the south and burned toward the north. But if it had jumped 87, all those people that were trying to evacuate going south, then they would have been jammed up. Mm-hmm. And so that necessarily isn't wouldn't have been a good plan. As it worked out, they kept it on one side of the freeway, and so it was okay. The northbound traffic was stopped, but the southbound traffic was open, at least for a while.
Yeah, that turned out to be a real challenge for not only getting supplies up to Payson and north of here, because northbound 87, that's the quickest route from the valley here. So, when you're talking about truck drivers and everyone else having to go all the way around, come up through, wherever, Camp Verde, and come across, that's a long ways out of the way. So when that highway gets shut down, it poses a lot of problems for everyone here in town.
Yeah, and then going north, that's tricky just because of the nature of the roadway.
Yeah.
That's when you get up in Pine Strawberry and you're going with those cutbacks and whatnot, it's not an easy drive. And if you have a lot of people in, we hope not in panic mode, but they're going to be.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be high tension, and all you need is one accident there, and then you're going to shut that one down, and then heading east on 260 is a different kind of a challenge because there's a lot of forest in between, and depending on where the fire starts and where it skips and which direction it's going, if the winds are coming out of the west and it's blowing it that way.
So it's a challenge. I think everybody has a personal responsibility to have their own plan in place, and when it comes time to evacuate, we'll get the word out, and you'll only be able to go whichever way we're going to tell you to go, because roads are going to be blocked by squad cars or dump trucks or barricades or whatever. So it'll happen quick that we get the word out there and start setting up these plans for evacuation. And the key is, don't panic. The more you prepare, the more you think about it and talk about it, the less chaotic the scene will be, as from my experiences.
Most households, I'll say most, at least half of the households, and I don't have a scientific number here, but a number of households have multiple vehicles, at least two. Do you take one vehicle or do you take two vehicles?
If it was me and my family, we would be taking one vehicle and leaving one behind. It's just a lot more efficient, a lot safer for everybody else out there. If everybody took every vehicle that the family owned, we'd be doubling or tripling the traffic trying to get out of town. So
plus you're separated.
By doing that,
then.
plus you get separated, yeah.
All right, let's go to the phone. Say good morning. Welcome to the forum. Who's on the line? Good morning. All the buttons are pushed. Are you there? Would you like to participate? No, not so much. 47424. That's Guido from Brooklyn calling in this morning.
No, that was Carmine. I could tell by the breath.
Oh, you could tell by the breath. 4742427. Give us a call if you have a question or a comment about fire preparedness. That's what we're talking about this morning. What came to mind for you?
Well, what jumped out is the Green Valley Extension Parkway that we've had in the hopper now since I took office. What we've been able to do is to establish a route around the event center, coming off of 87 and going up to Green Valley Park, which gives us an access. If you're going north, you get up to Main Street, you hang a left, and you get out of here. What's amazing to me, and my wife pointed this out, is that where the pine forest begins. It begins here in Payson when you're coming north. Actually, where we live, when you come over the hill, we're up behind the college, but when you come over the hill, the pine forest begins there. So that's a whole different problem. I mean, the manzanita bushes are the major fire producers because they're all oil. But when you get up into crown fires and you start looking at pine trees, so there's a different dynamic, there that begins here in Payson. Now, the chief is talking about are routes out of town. What he's trying to do, and what we're all really in town government and town staff, we're trying to create options so that there are several different options. One of them will be this roadway, around the event center. If the fire's coming north and coming south, well, we'll get a lot of people out of town, because of that road. So what happens? Okay, you get down to 87. Well, if we got a fire coming north to south, well then one of the things is we spill out. They spill out onto 87 heading south. We can also close the 87 coming north, which they probably will. So now you got 4 lanes to get out of town going that way. Well, okay, if the fire's not coming that way, then that's not an option. But if it is, it's an option, and we have to explore, entertain, and encourage every idea that we can put on the table and look at. We have to do.
Here's one right here. Good morning. Welcome to the forum. Who's on the line?
Good bless. It's just Tony and Bill.
Hi, Bill.
If somebody has mentioned this and I missed it, I like His Honor, I apologize. I've been here for 20 or 21 years, and for most of those years, I have been calling in this show when we had town people on and asking them why they didn't connect to McLean, to the intersection of 87 and the casino driveway. Most of that road's already in existence. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, we all know what you're talking about.
Okay, it would provide one additional exit from people getting out of town.
Well, Bill, hi, Bill. It's good to hear your voice. One of the problems with that road is that it creates a bottleneck because it comes up to Main Street. It's there and it could be used, but it brings us into Main Street, which could cause a grid. a gridlock. With the road that we're building around, and empties out into Green Valley Park, there's a junction, a road junction there that gives us the option of just swinging right out of town. Now, we should use what we have, but we need to create more opportunity and more exits, out of town, and that's why the Green Valley Parkway is in the pipeline, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, that Green Valley Parkway roadway will help people on the west side of town. The road right off of Main Street by McLean there, that's a little too close to Highway 87, so you'd be taking too many people from the east side of town and putting them on 87 and McLean, and it would actually cut off the people on the west side of town. So that's why the Green Valley roadway is so important to get that up and built and running.
Yeah. Okay. And there's a pretty significant dip there too. I know during high water you can't really even make it through on McLean there. Good morning. Welcome to the forum. Who's on the line?
Good morning. This is Richard.
Hi, Richard.
How are everybody?
Hi, Richard.
Good, thank you.
Yeah. Several things about connectivity and evacuation routes. Back in the 70s, early 70s, I did a piece for public radio about following evacuation routes in the town where I was at in Stockton, California. And in doing all that research, finding the routes were not complete. Now, these were the evacuation routes that was set up back in the 50s and 60s with the nuclear scare. And they would work for evacuation routes and such today. But are there evacuation routes in Payson? Are they marked? They need to be marked. People need to be aware of these things.
Yeah, so we do have routes. Our problem is, and we've learned from past experiences on fires elsewhere throughout the country, that if we list all the evacuation routes, somebody's going to put one evacuation route in their head, and that's all they're going to be thinking. So that could change significantly depending on the event. So the routes will be clearly marked with squad cars and other pieces of equipment when the need arises, so people will know exactly where to go. But we've learned from other people's mistakes, and we've decided that if we publish evacuation routes, too often people are not considering all the other options available. So we want to keep those options open and make sure that the people have the safest route and quickest route available to get out of town if need be.
And to dovetail on that, Chief, again, I go back to innovation. As technology improves, our options improve. Mm-hmm. They do, and the town needs to move with that. I mean, we're a town of transition. I mean, we're not going to sacrifice our culture for technology, but we damn well better tap into it. So because it could be a matter of life and death. One of the things in creating new options, we have a business right in town. It's called Pipeworks. The man named Kent Hum owns it, and what he does is he constructs conduit fences, pipe fences that where water can be run through, and he's got this innovative process that he's really bringing to the table, where he builds units that they look like oversized coat racks, right? And they can be transported, they can be towed even by SUVs, small SUVs. They can create fire breaks. Now, anywhere where there's a water source, they could really be used on roads that are evacuation routes to get out of town, to soak the areas to prevent the fires from preventing drivers. I mean, these are innovations that are not expensive. Then they can be put into place. Now there's already plans. There's a strategy. So you say, well, how are you going to get water in the forest? Well, they have cargo containers with bladders that they're placing around. They being the U.S. Forest Service, and they place them around, and the water can be delivered by helicopter. And these units can be brought there and set up and spray certain areas to create a fire break. Why not do that? I mean, why not consider it? People say, "Oh, it can't be done." It can be done, and I think eventually it must be done. But these are things, new options that are being creative. Start playing chess, folks. I mean, really, forget checkers; they don't work anymore. Yeah.
So, Richard, your point was that a lot of the evacuation routes that were on the map or that were a part of the master plan were not effective because you couldn't even get through on them. What they're saying now is with the current situation here in Payson, they've identified actual evacuation routes that people can get through on, but they're hesitant to mark those or publicize those so that everybody doesn't flood to the one that is their favorite, but it may not be the most effective, safest evacuation route.
Correct.
Plus, with the police getting out and setting up the routes themselves, that sets up for the perfect evacuation routes that people need for that situation, which is what everything is that we need. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention was speaking back in the 50s and 60s and the old civil defense stuff. There are still programs that exist in the government there for grants and such, for sirens and such, that that no one's ever taken advantage of in the last 40 years.
Right.
And those things are still there.
Right. And we are exploring those. Rich, I don't know if you heard my dialogue on the stakeholders group that we have just put in place. It's been in place since December, and we have some major players in that. And there are resources there that we can bring into play. Again, it's a couple of jumps down the road, but the possibilities are there if we can look far enough down the road to get them and employ them and bring them in. But we've got to start. We've got to be more innovative than we've been, and we are now.
Definitely.
Richard, would you be willing to serve, Richard, on one of these groups that the mayor is putting together?
Sure, though I'm not a citizen of Payson.
It doesn't matter.
Valley.
It doesn't matter.
That's right.
We have people from all over the state. SRP, APS. We have National Bass Fishing. We have the Wild Turkey Federation, which is the Wild Turkey Federation in many ways, but they are active. I mean, this is a statewide problem, Richard. And I mean, if for instance, if our water source here goes down, our C.C. Cragen water source goes down, we get 28% of that water. The valley, downstate, gets 72% of it. What does that impact? Our economic growth, our entire process of business in the state would be interrupted or terminated. So everybody's involved. Everybody's got skin in the game, and everybody's options and suggestions are welcome.
Yeah, and Richard has a lot of background, a lot of experience, and a lot of knowledge about a lot of things. And I think I'm just volunteering you here, Richard. So I hope you're good with that.
Okay. Plus, also, I want to say I'm a former professional chess player.
Okay.
Aha.
There you go. Yeah. See?
Hey, there's a great show on. It's called. It was Queen something. I mean, my wife would know. We just watched about a kid who is a chess genius, who was an orphan, and
Richard beat her, didn't you, Richard?
Yeah,
sure.
And you'd love it, Richard. It's a great show. It's on Netflix.
Okay.
Appreciate your call. Thank you, partner. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
20 minutes until 10 o'clock here on the Rim Country Forum. We are talking all things evacuation routes, and we're going to have a lot of calls. I'm going to take a real quick break, take care of some business, and we'll be back with the mayor and the police chief right after this. It's a Monday edition of the Rim Country Forum, and we are talking all things fire preparedness here in Payson with Mayor Tom Morrissey and Police Chief Ron Tischer. And let's go back to the phones and say good morning. Welcome to the forum. Who's on the line?
Good morning. This is Jenny. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Jenny. Good.
We're good. Hi, Jenny.
Good. Hey, I live in Mesa Del. I used to be on the Houston Mesa Fire Department. There are a lot of people up here that are disabled, and they're going to have a problem getting out of here. I've often thought that because Houston Mesa has a lot of housing developments out here, and if there's a fire out there in the woods, we have the control road. We could go out that way if it's blocked off, say, down by the campgrounds. But if it's back there, some of those people are going to get stuck. We need another egress. They had talked about one time about putting an egress from Houston Mesa Road over to 260. We're kind of in a pickle if the fire comes up over these, like say out of the Shoofly Canyon, and it'll pick up momentum as it comes up, and we're kind of going to be in a pickle trying to get out of here. Do you have a plan for us out here that's outside of town?
Yeah, so we work a lot, really close with the Sheriff's Department, the Sheriff's Department posse, the CERT team. We can also get the Arizona Rangers up here, which, kind of increase our numbers, by a lot to help with evacuations and whatnot. So that's why it's important for whoever, if there is a fire moving this way, whoever's the incident commander of that fire would need to, get the word out soon for areas just like what you're talking about, because that is going to be a challenge, and that's going to be extremely labor intensive to get everyone out who needs to get out. So, when you look at the people, plus hopefully we can get some of their livestock out and out, it's a challenge, and that's why we work with so many other entities, not just the police and fire department, but the county and the county's posse and everyone else that we can get involved in this. The more people we can get out there helping people, the better. So, that's the plan for now. I agree with you. There probably needs to be another route out of there. It's going to be a challenge, but that's why areas like that we tend to evacuate a lot sooner rather than later.
And Jenny, to add to what the Chief just said, you make a good point. You're stepping forward, so you could be a change agent, and the fact is that you could organize, you could help or put together a group in your area that could organize and come up with plans and that could help us to help you. So if you have the community involved, and sounds like you're right on top of this thing. The only thing is you got to move with it and create something that an organization, a group, a community that can address this and take it a step further than where it is right now. But you got your arms around it. You've been a firefighter, so you understand what the problem is, and you understand the dynamics of where you're at. So I would suggest that you do that. If you need my help, just call town hall, and you and I can sit down and we can talk.
Jenny,
right?
are you in District 1 or District 3 in the county? Do you know?
No, I don't know exactly.
Because your county supervisor, whoever that is somebody else. If you're going to have a community meeting, it'd be a good idea to invite them to it.
Yeah.
And let them see physically what you're looking at, and where the egress is now. And even if you had a proposed plan route, if there's got to be a fire trail through there somewhere that comes out on 260, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I think there is. I don't know. And they, like I say, they had talked about doing that because we were talking about it one time merging with Hell's Gate. And this is going to be the Houston Mesa corridor here. We were going to connect with them. That was years ago. But yes, I will. I will get a hold of a few people and see if we can't round up. Kind of get organized. And there are people who up here are disabled, and we need to know who they are.
Yep.
So we can be in touch with them.
Yep. And all that information should be shared with the Sheriff's Department so they know exactly what's going on in your community. And as I said, if you get a hold of your county supervisor, now the mayor's offered to help, and Chief Tischer will help to the best of his ability and help you coordinate, so you could contact either one of them. But you're on the right track, and I think Mayor Morrissey just made a really strong point that we have to help ourselves. We just can't always count on government to do all those things, and you could create a real strong lobbying effort right there, and if it's going to take some money to create an alternate egress route, that's what would help the most, is if your community is organized and puts some pressure on the politicians.
Yeah, and to make the point, take it further, Jenny, the word they are doing this and they are doing that. And whenever I say it in my house, I get asked the question, who are they? Okay, so the thing is, and it's a great cover word, but it doesn't work. It takes the individual person to really drive an issue. And it sounds like you could be very, very helpful to your community even to begin to do something. I'll help you any way I can, but I think Woody Klein is your supervisor, and I know Woody would be right on top of this thing if he was aware of it. So maybe we could put something together with Woody, you and I, and we can maybe get something rolling here.
Okay, sounds like a plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jenny. Really appreciate your call. That's a really good point. That's for every neighborhood, and every small community in the unincorporated parts of the county. Because it's all good. It's all going to be impacted. We have a great plan for all the residents that live in the town of Payson, and then everybody outside of town, if they don't have a plan, then the plan for Payson doesn't work.
Nope.
Right?
You're right.
That's a good point, Charlie.
Yeah. Let's go back to the phones. Oh, and real quickly, somebody called and said there's a concern. We have so many fir trees and pine trees growing right next to buildings in town. Don't we need to manage that a little bit? I'll let you think about it. Let's go to the phone first. Good morning. Welcome to the forum. Who's on the line?
Hi, it's Pamela.
Hi, Pamela.
Hi. Well, you just kind of touched on what I was going to ask. I'm new to Payson. My husband and I have only been here a year, and so this is all new for us, and we're trying to do what we can. We met with Kevin, who's in charge of firefighting, I believe, or at least trying to help.
Yep, he's our fields manager.
Yes, and so we're trying to get on that program and get our property taken care of. My question is, I've seen things in the paper about these other projects that Payson's taking on as a town, and I'm wondering about the money being spent creating whatever they are, whether it's the splash pad or the other parks they're talking about building. I mean, they'd be great and they'd be fun, but if we have a fire problem and an evacuation problem, wouldn't the money be better spent from the town to help create these extra roads and things like that, rather than another really nice park when we already have a nice park here? So that's just my question, because I don't know.
All right, that's a good question. Pamela, thanks for calling in and being part of the program today. And it's a good one. It's prioritization of issues.
That's the answer to everything. I mean, the challenge is, how do you go about prioritizing what's going to occur. Our problem is that we've been so far behind the curve on a lot of these issues, and that was brought by the economic circumstances that we faced with the recession and all that. But that's over. The recession's been over for quite a while. But what it did was it created a paradigm, and I witnessed it with my parents. They were functioning during the Depression. That created a certain mentality with them where they were very, very careful about the money that was spent. That's what's going on. It's going on now. And then we get hit with COVID. We get hit with this thing. And but the thing is, life goes on. And there's a reality that we all need to get to. We need to understand what the reality is so that we can address it. Yeah. And we can get, now it's easy to say and pay it lip service, but what can be more realistic than the threat of a catastrophic fire? I mean, really, when you look at things, and I believe that the town, and I'm sitting right next to it, to one of the main players in it right here, Chief Tischer, is addressing it. Chief Staub is the same thing. We're very blessed to have the town manager that we have, who is really on top of things. Troy Smith is really there, and I really feel that we have the right people in place right now to address the circumstance that we're facing. Believe me, folks, I mean that.
Okay, so we're in a new world. I'm going to ask a tough question here, which just popped into my mind. But I think I know the answer already. We don't have a full-time professional grant writer on staff at the town, right?
Right, and we do, but I think we need for a full-time grant staff writer. In any case, I don't think we need one. I think we need several that are paid by a commission. Okay, and so you put them in place, and to go out and get the money that we don't have. That right, so we're not losing anything.
Right.
But what motivates more than money? I mean, and on a commission basis. And I really believe we could put a team of grant writers together and get them rolling on this, right? Rather than have somebody.
I think it needs to happen sooner rather than later. That's my point, because I think Richard sort of brought that up.
Yeah.
It's like there are funds out there. There's money out there, evacuation money, federal money, state money, foundation money that's just sitting there. But if you don't have, but the average person wouldn't have a clue of how to find it.
Oh.
So you gotta have the pro that knows where it is and how to get it.
Yeah.
Some of these grants become really complicated, especially the federal government grants, and a lot of they're really labor intensive to write them and track them.
And you got and there's a lot of nuances, and you get all the work done. You miss one little thing, now you go back and start over again, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. So you got to have somebody that has a proven track record that says, I know where it is, I know how to get it. These are the grants that I've gotten, and I know there are companies out there that do that.
Yeah.
And,
the grant writer we have, she only works part-time. She's incredible. She's brought in a lot of money for the police department, but it's only one person working part-time. I mean, there's grants out there to keep 2 or 3 people going.
Right. I try not to lobby too much, but I just lobbied, I guess, for that. So they got time.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because there's somebody that I know very, very well that has brought a grant concept to the event center by having somebody sponsor the event center and enable us to rehab it, cover it and do all these things. But when you get a grant like that, I mean, the grants for the fires and preventing fires is one thing. That's life and death. I mean, that's existential. And then you have other things that can bring revenue to the town. And that's another one. But the thing is, we're investing in ourselves, and we have to be more innovative. We got to be bold, and we got to go out and get it. The money's there. We got to go get it. If you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah. With Firewise, and I know the brush center you opened up at the event center, the Common Council approved. That was, I don't know how many tons of brush and whatnot was collected there, but it did a lot for Firewise in the town here. So
just huge. It's funny, but just the drive over to Star Valley to get to the brush pit is daunting for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I saw a lot of real small trailers, people making multiple loads because it was so close in.
Yeah.
Here we go. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back after this. Got a couple minutes left on the program today. Thanks so much for joining us. It's a never-ending discussion. We got a lot of material to cover, and we've just sort of scratched the surface a little bit today with the mayor and the police chief here talking about evacuation and preparedness for a catastrophic fire. There's a lady who's called in several times, and she wants us to address this other issue. What do you do if we have some tall pines in town next to buildings?
I think we have an incredible resource in Kevin McCulley here in the town. He does great work, and he's very knowledgeable on firewizing and what needs to go first. And he'll come up with a whole plan. Any homeowner or business that wants his service or wants a plan on how to firewise or what should be firewized around their home, call Kevin and he'll take care of it.
What about the homeowner or the business that doesn't want to call Kevin? They've got a big pine tree right next to their retail outlet, and they know it, and they know it's there, and it's been there forever. But
the challenge is financial. I mean, I was just saying, wife and I have firewise our property up to $205,000. They didn't put a dent in it. I mean, and most people don't have the money. We've got to create a process where we can help one another. We eliminate these fire hazards. We got to deal with them, but we got to be realistic. How do we do it? and that's the big question.
All right, got time for one more real quick question. Good morning. Welcome to the forum. Who's on the line?
Hi, my name is Christina, and I just had a suggestion on keeping down some of our fires, especially along the roadway, and that was to install fire extinguishers in the vehicles. It would cut down tremendously on the road fires we have.
Yeah,
thank you, Christina.
That's a good point. A lot of our fires that especially start on off of Highway 87, that is for people pulling trailers and their chains are dragging, creating sparks, and it's bad. I mean, check the equipment on your car. Have a fire extinguisher. We all have fire extinguishers in our car, our squad cars, and that, and they put out a lot of fires that could grow really quickly. So, that's a great point that everybody should have a fire extinguisher in their car.
Excellent, Christina. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, we're out of time for today. I want to thank our sponsors, the Power of Fives, the Dana Law Group, Banner Health, Payson Medical Center, Propane, Pinnacle Propane, Realty Executives Arizona Territory, the Owens Law Firm, and Sunshine Cleaning and Restoration. Great program, folks. Thanks for all your calls and your suggestions, and we'll have the chief and the mayor back again. We'll probably get Chief Staub in here one day with us as well, and we'll keep after it. You keep after it. Organize your community. You're listening to KMOG Payson. It's 10 o'clock.